Hello everyone, Live 11 is literally around the corner, and for anybody with push 2 or even push 1 who's wondering if the upgrade is for them or you simply want to know the new features of Live 11 because you've bought it, this video is for you. There's a few, like not many, changes for push owners for now, but they're really good. I love them, and I'm not here to tell you you have to upgrade or you need something new. In fact, we very often don't need anything new at all. But if you are thinking about it, well, I'm gonna try to persuade you one way or the other. I really like them. I really like the changes, and even if I just had 2 or 3 of them, and we're talking around about 5, I'd be really, really happy. So let's just dive in. Now the first one is Polyphonic Pressure. Polyphonic Pressure, to keep it short, and I have a video which covers this, the one about Live 11 and new features, so check that if you want to read more about or hear more about MPE and so on. And basically what this does is it means that every single note that you play on push, you can add a certain amount of pressure to those notes and add all kinds of effects and extra expression to those individual notes. Now it does depend on which instrument is at the end of push or what you're playing, basically, be it something in Ableton Live itself, a VST or an external synth, because not all of them have this. In fact, it's a relatively small collection of soft synths and synthesizers that actually have this MPE ability built in, but that's going to change. And well, without further ado, let's just give you a really obvious example of that. So here's a sound I designed with Wavetable. It's kind of a fluty kind of sound. And just listen carefully as I push down on one note. In order to hear, it's just way more expressive already. And this is something which you can access via the setup menu. You can see there's a new item here, pressure. And this is usually set to mono, and that's what we currently have with Live 10, and everybody out there has anyway. You might not see it listed there, but it's already there. Now the change is, of course, that we can now have multiple fingers exerting pressure on pads and adjusting and changing multiple notes at the same time. And you could say, well, I'm okay with mono, that's fine for a melody, that's all I really need. The issue is that in my experience, the mono pressure, or at least the way it was set up, was that it seemed to, in a way, cancel itself out, because if you're playing 2 notes at the same time, or they were they overlapped somewhat, let's say, the pressure setting seemed to just reset sometimes, and it meant that you had this kind of jagged change from one sound to the next, and I never really got it to work, so I tended to stay away from it. That said, do look into it if you're going to stick with Live 10. It's still really interesting, especially if you're working with, you know, monophonic sounds, basically. But if we keep this on Poly and give another example, this is another sound called Screamy that I made for my video Pressure, which is also on my channel. And if you really want to see polyphonic pressure in action, that's the video for you. It was so much fun to make it, and the sounds and expression you get out of it are just nuts. So here's this sound. I can really make this one scream, but listen as I just slowly push my finger down. I'm addicted to this right now, and it's just incredible. I could try something else. Incredible, just amazing. Now, I think what's important to mention straight away is that that's Wavetable, in case I hadn't mentioned already, which I did. But what's important to know is that is within the Suite version of Ableton Live. So if you're working with Standard or Intro, that means your ability to use this feature is going to be limited to whichever VSTs you have, or perhaps the external synths you might have, and there's not that many that currently work with MPE. So that's important to know. that could also be an argument to consider going up to sweet if something like this really talks to you. And I think it is incredible. And I think for a pad controller like Push, this is foundational. This is something which is just so good and so powerful, and will add expression as a, let's say, add expression over time to what you do, because more and more instruments are going to have this feature, I'm very, very sure. So Polyphonic Pressure, Christmas came early. Now the next one is all about probability, and I've again covered this briefly in the video about Live 11, but here I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail in a little bit more practical way. So here I've got a drum clip that I recorded earlier, and it's just 1 bar long, but if we play through it, you're going to hear there's a decent amount of variation going on, and this is something that I made relatively quickly. So let's play through it. Keep in mind it's a 1 bar loop. You can see here, see the loop length right there. Now and then, for example, we get a ride, and sometimes we don't. You can hear just there that the kicks dropped most of the beats there, and I'll show you what's going on. So with the kicks, for example, if I hold these down while I'm in clip mode, we have this new area here which says probability 100, velocity range 0. I'll come to that later. So the probability is 100% they'll play. This is what you would have had with Live 10, that they were always going to play, thank goodness. Now if I hold down this 4th beat, I've put it on 86, which means that now and then it drops that 4th beat, which is quite nice. And if I take these last 3, they are on a range of 21 to 23%, meaning that they have that probability of playing, but then I can choose multiple ones at the same time and increase that probability proportionally, which is very, very nice. So if we, for example, just solo the kick here, so hit the 4th, and it's not hit these yet. It did hit that one. It skipped them all. I'm waiting for these. Come on. That's some statistical magic right there. You get the idea. This is already really, really cool, and this is just the context of a basic dance music beat. If you would apply this to, well, any other kind of genre of music, you could have it over a much longer period of time that things happen or don't, and basically give us another tool to take live and make music that basically generates and plays itself or adds a certain amount of randomness as it goes. So very, very nice, and I was really happy to see it come through, because I saw this feature come early on in the Live 11 beta, but it had not come to Push, and I don't know whether my nagging about it might have helped, and I'm sure other people will have been suggesting it too, and I think I saw that in the forums. But anyway, no matter what, no matter where it came from, it's really, really nice. Let's have a look at another example where we can involve probability. And here I've got a bass sound. This is one that I made for my students, or I prefer to call them workshoppers, at my school workshop. And it's got some basic bass sounds in there. And if I look at the clip, it's only 1 bar long. It has 4 notes. If I come to the sequencer layout, you can see them here. Now if I hold down the bottom one, you can see it has a probability of 100. The next one up, 33. The next one up, 20. The next one up, 9. The reason I've done it in that way is that because very often with synths in general, basically, they have a note priority whereby if they all get played at the same time, it's very often the top note that kind of wins the battle and comes through. And this is a mono synth here. But what I've also done is I've set up a few effects, such as an arpeggiator and a few other MIDI effects just to spice it up a little bit. But ultimately, they're not what's really important here, because they're just part of the sauce. The ingredients are these notes, which sometimes play and sometimes don't, which means that if I play this chord or this arpeggiated sequence, we're going to get a different result as it passes through every time. So let's have a listen to that. So you can hear every time we got a different result, which I know someone will probably point out you can also get with the arpeggiator by choosing the drop down so that it chooses, for example, the random once or random other selection. But what's different here is that it's actually going to be different notes that get fed into it and not just the order in which they're played. And I don't know about you, but I go nuts listening to the same pattern on an arpeggiator over and over again. As they can be great, but after a while, really can sort of grind you down. And so being able to do this means you can just add that bit of change and spice every now and then, and I love it. And I've made a new track all about this, which I'll release, I guess, sometime very soon, and link below. So do check the links in the comments and the info section, because that will be quite a lot of fun to share with you, because I really got so much out of just one pattern, going round and round and just jamming with the parameters that I've set up on this super bass rack. I think it's really cool. I think its probability is a definite very good number of seconds in terms of my top features and changes to Live 11. Now the next thing that changes is pretty subtle, and that is 16 macros. So we've gone up from 8 macros up to 16, and that also applies for push. So if I come over to our old friend Screamy here, we can see here's the usual 8 macros, and if I press there, you can see it goes macro 9 through 16. It's very nice to see. That opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, and I'm sure you're all aware. But ultimately, from Push's point of view, it simply means that we can grab hold of more things in Live thanks to this extra 8 macros and access them in a relatively intuitive way. So you can't complain. I mean, that is a small change in a sense as a feature, but the implications are really, really big. Now the next upgrade, and basically the last main one I'm going to talk about, is involving scales. And now Push has always been a powerhouse by having its own scales that we can use and select. But what now happens is that if we record a clip using Push, it's going to essentially print the information about that scale into the clip in Live. What does that really mean? That means that it highlights the notes in Live that are as part of that scale. So that's something built into Live 11 itself. But what is cool is that if we record one clip, for example in Dorian, we go and make a new clip and choose major or whatever scale we want. That means that every time we then play those clips, it's actually going to update Push as you go along. So it's going to update to the scale that was used in that clip. So let's just record something here in Dorian. So that we will have recorded in E Dorian. If we now go down to the next clip slot, choose that one, but change the scale to something else, and let's just go to minor blues. If you notice my screen being a little bit slow, it's because it's connected through far too many hubs, and apparently Push doesn't like that, so something for me to change. And now record something here. And just stop that. You can see here the scale's minor blues. If we come up here and trigger that first one we recorded, go to note mode, check scale, you can see it's jumped over to Dorian. Now this opens up a few different things. First is that you're essentially always going to know in which clip which scale was used when you're either performing or recording with Push. You'll be able to see this within Live. But what you can also do is set up live shows, for example, where you'd have an empty clip which already has that scale setting, meaning that you could jump to the next scene and boom, you're in the right scale, which could be really, really nice to have. Now, the rest of the changes I would say are largely cosmetic, unless I've missed some incredible thing out there. For example, you have the hybrid reverb device where you have a new look for a totally new device, one which you'll only have in Live 11 anyway. But if you step inside, you can see that the EQ, for example, already picks up and displays information back to you. And this is a kind of trend that we're seeing with various devices in Ableton Live and Push, that one by one they slowly kind of get updated and give us a bit more information on screen. So I'm guessing that's going to continue with Live 11 and also Live 10. So those are the main changes coming to Ableton Push 2 and 1 with the updates to Live 11. It's relatively few changes, let's say, but they are mighty in their own way. I mean, Polyphonic Pressure is I think, like I say, enough for me, just about. It is so good and so powerful when you couple it with instruments that react to MPE instructions. Note probability, the ability to give some chance and randomness to what we're doing is, however, really, really great at the same time, and especially for drum sequences and so on, is just magic. And if you're making electronic dance music, that is a real power feature. That is, I mean, we can all do with a little bit more variety in percussion and in the electronic dance music world now and then. So that is a really, really great addition. The fact that we can also add a velocity range to every note, be it percussive or be it melodic, and have them move within that range of velocities, giving yet another layer of expression, is again really good and really valuable to have. The fact that we can now have 16 macros and, you know, reach in to live in an even better way with push is of course a good thing. I mean, I'm a fan of keeping things limited to just 8 macros, but the fact that we have it is definitely valuable. And the fact that now with scales we can move in and out of them, recording clips as we go with push, and that Live knows which scale we recorded in, and that can also update push in a bi-directional manner. This is also great, and I think there's a few other applications I've probably not even thought of myself yet. Ultimately, it's a very personal choice whether you are going to find these useful or not, and you know, I hope that this overview can help in some way. Definitely curious to hear if you have any thoughts of your own or things you would have liked to have had. Always risky to ask, but I'm still curious, so do let me know in the comments. And I would say if you want to look at using these sounds or see what it can give as a result, do check out the pressure video on my channel, especially the second half. You can really hear some of the extra expression that you can get out of a push with compatible sounds and instruments. On that note, Push 2 has not become a fully MPE capable controller. It misses the slide function, for example, that you have on the kind of spongy keyboards that Roly make, but it's already, let's say, a good part of the way there, and they're doing as much as they can with the hardware that we have. With Live 11 and those updates, I also have a video all about those, and which includes one little item in there which you will either hopefully love me for including, or maybe hate me. Apologies in advance, but that's just a little bonus for fun. And yeah, if you want to learn all about Push 2 from A to Z, up to down, top to bottom, left to right, then check out the Push Bible on my school workshop. That's workshop with no O's.eu. And yeah, so far the feedback, I'm really grateful and relieved to say, has been epic, just incredible. Thank you so much to everybody who has come on board and given me so much warmth back. And I mean, I can be overly thankful perhaps about these things, but I can't say how much it means to me that all those crazy months making it early this year were worth it, basically. So take care out there. It's still a really crazy time, and be careful, look after those who need help, and good luck. And yeah, let's make some music.